Hi, my name is John.
And my name is Lloyd.
And we're the hosts of The Pint,
a pop culture podcast.
Lloyd, if you had to tell any of the people out there that might be listening to The Pint for the first time about anything unsavory or disconcerting we might do on the show, what would you warn them about?
Well, sometimes we drop spoilers, and sometimes we swear like motherfucking sailors.
Fuck yeah, we do. You heard it from him. You've been warned.
Listen in.
Ask you for very much. Just give me one
Mom,
day.
I've given you 17 years.
And I need you to be responsible. Do you know what that means? Responsible.
Don't talk to me about responsible,
I
Mom.
just need this one thing.
Mom, I am not responsible for you. That's it. That's enough. I can't take it, Mom. He's dead. Michael Myers is dead.
Welcome to All Horror October here on The Pint. My name is John.
Hi, I'm Stu.
Just like every October the last few years, Stu and I are going to drop in and talk about a Halloween film. That's right. Tonight we're talking about the promised from last year, Halloween. Yes, because we promised 6 the year before when we did 5.
Okay.
Last year, I think at the end of the show, we were like, let's do H20 next year. And I pocketed that away. I put it away. So we will be talking about Halloween H20, which, by the way, I never knew the actual full title is Halloween H20 20 years later. I thought that was like a tagline. Nope. The whole title of this movie is Halloween H20 20 years
later. Okay, that's fair. I knew that was like how it went. I knew it was Halloween H20 20 years later, but I didn't know that was considered part of the title. Like you, I thought that was the tagline.
It is
like
part of the title.
Jaws 2. Just when you thought it was safe to go back in the water.
Yeah, no, that one is just the tagline. This one is actually 20 years later. All right, let's talk about it.
Do you want me to get naked and start the revolution?
Halloween H20 came out on August 5th of 1998. Really doing their best job to take in that Halloween money for a Halloween
beginning
movie.
of August.
In the very middle of the summer. And coincidentally, as you folks are hearing this in All Horror October here on The Pint, we're recording this in the middle of August as well. So it's kind of fitting. This movie was directed by Steve Miner. Steve Miner filmed some movies that you might know, one of them being the 1986 horror film House. He was the director behind Friday the 13th Part 2 and Part 3.
Yes.
And also Lake Placid a year after this. He did that, which is a very popular creature feature. If you go back to if you're one of our Pint Insiders, if you heard me and Eric talk about Godzilla 1998, Steve Miner was the first person that was going to make an American Godzilla movie in 1983 or 84. Got it along, and then it just fizzled out. So a bunch of different things there. Now, here's the thing, about this movie I never knew. I had always heard that this was written by Kevin Williamson, the guy who's very famous for
right. Yeah.
Dawson's Creek and Scream.
Yes.
He took an uncredited pass at the final script, and added in some of his stuff, but he is not named on this on the credits of this at all.
Okay, I didn't know if I thought he was a writer on this or if I just thought that it seemed like he was a writer on this because of what the movie is.
From what I read, he was initially going to be the first, one of the first screenplay writers, because this went through a lot of iterations, and we'll talk about that in a minute. He ended up not being able to do it, but then when they were done with the couple of scripts they got in, they let him take a look at it. So here are the actual credits. Then we'll talk about what could have happened. One of the writers, story and screenplay, was a guy named Robert Zappia, who really has no horror credits or credits for the most part at all. The Tom and Jerry cartoon show. He did 35 episodes of that in the 90s.
Those are known for their intensive plot and high value struggles.
another cartoon called Search and Explore. He did 16 episodes of. So then another guy named Matt Greenberg wrote a screenplay. He has a little bit more horror cred. He wrote the 2019 Pet Sematary reboot or remake, whatever you want to call that.
Is that any good? I've
Never saw
seen. Okay.
I heard bad things.
It seems like something you would have seen, so I was asking you. I've seen what came out last year, Pet Sematary Bloodlines. That was bad. I saw that.
That's the prequel to the reboot or the remake. Yeah, I never saw that. He also wrote 1408, which was what I thought a disappointing Stephen King adaptation, and The Prophecy Part 2. So here are a couple of the script ideas that we would have gotten, because initially there was a whole bunch of different ideas as to whether this was going to be a direct sequel to Part 6, right? Or if it was going to do what it ends up doing, which is ignore everything after 2 and connect right to 2, which is what this one does do. But there was a lot of different ideas. So one of them was originally called Halloween 7, The Revenge of Laurie Strode. One of them was called Halloween, the Son of Michael Myers, and I'll get to that one in a second. One of them was called, or there was 2 more screenplays, Halloween, Two Faces of Evil, and Halloween, Blood Ties. A couple of these were considered as direct-to-video sequels because the sixth movie, the sixth movie, which we covered last year, didn't do well at all.
It didn't.
So they thought they couldn't get this one off the ground. Some of the things that were different in different versions that I just mentioned, I'm not going to assign what was different in what version, but here are some of the things that were different. The 2 detectives that we meet in the beginning of the movie that disappear were supposed to have a through line through the whole movie looking for Michael Myers.
Okay.
So those guys ended up not being used, but there was a whole subplot of those 2 following the action and ending up in the academy that we end up at, like looking for Michael Myers.
Halloween True Detective.
Yeah, really. Time is a flat circle. Michael Myers' face is a flat circle and CGI'd in one scene. Okay, another one is Charlie, the kid who puts his hand in the garbage disposal, was originally going to end up being the killer. He was going to be a Michael Myers copycat, which sounds like somebody from Halloween Ends got an idea.
I was going to say, it sounds like 20 some years later, they still use that idea.
Yeah. And maybe just as poorly. Okay. So there is originally a book report scene. Jamie Lynn, what's her name? Sigler.
From The Sopranos?
No, sorry, Jodie Lynn O'Keefe.
Okay. I don't know who that one is.
She is the brunette girl who was the other friend who was
okay.
weirdly sexually attracted to the kid who played Charlie. It would never happen. But anyways, there was a scene I think that they said was written but not filmed where she was going to read off a book report that was about the Michael Myers Halloween killings in 1963 that was supposed to tie these movies together. And you were supposed to find out in that book report, in the scene in that book report, that supposedly Laurie Strode didn't die. Supposedly she's somewhere under a false name. And then in that book report, she also mentions the fact that the Jamie character from 4 through 6 had been murdered a couple years before, which was in Part 6. And in that scene, because apparently Laurie Strode didn't know that Jamie Lee Curtis's character is supposed to run out of the classroom and throw up in a bucket or something because she didn't know. She hadn't found out that Jamie had been killed. So that was another thing.
What rock was she living under? She wasn't keeping any tabs on the daughter that she abandoned to go live her pseudonym life.
Did you see how much she drank, Stu? She ordered 2 Chardonnays at like 11 in the morning. The waiter gave her a disapproving
I know.
look.
She's like, now, please.
Now. All right, a couple more things. In the original opening sequence, it was not supposed to be the nurse from the first movie. The character who had all the information on where Laurie was supposed to be Loomis's daughter. And they changed that. And one more thing. And they asked him, and he declined. There was supposed to be a scene in this movie, which even though there are a couple of humorous scenes in this movie, like LL Cool J has a little bit of like, he's like the comic relief. There was supposed to be a scene. They wanted to get actual Mike Myers, Wayne's World, Mike
Oh,
Myers.
is this that movie? Okay, because I always knew there was one movie that the actual Mike Myers was supposed to be in, and Laurie Strode was supposed to like double take on him or something.
Her and the Will Brennan, her boyfriend character, were supposed to get out of the car. Apparently, in the lunch scene downtown, he was supposed to walk by, and they were supposed to do a double take. Yo, yo, yo. And apparently Mike Myers was like, no. And good for
Mike
him.
Myers, come on. No, not good for him. He's a douche.
That's not douchey.
He's famously a douche, though, and you can tell that the reason he didn't want to do that is because he thought it was beneath him.
Okay, that's fair. I'll agree with that. I'll agree with that for sure. All right, so let's see what else do we have here. All right, that's everything for kind of the writing production of this $17 million budget. It was filmed between February and April of 1998, and it was mostly filmed in La Puente, California, Chatsworth, California, and Calabasas, California. Let's talk about the cast.
Allow myself to introduce myself.
Jamie Lee Curtis returns 20 years before she returns again as Laurie Strode, aka Carrie Tate. She has been on the run from Michael for the last 20 years, and she has developed an alcohol habit, and she has a son with a bad haircut, and she has an ex-husband who is a meth head, apparently.
Yeah.
She's made some choices in her life. You know Jamie Lee Curtis from True Lies, The Fog, A Fish Called Wanda. In his film debut, now here's how it works. Josh Hartnett filmed The Faculty first, but Halloween H20 came out first. So it's introducing Josh Hartnett as John Tate. You know him from the recently released Trap, Black Hawk Down, and the television show Penny Dreadful. And can I say this about Josh Hartnett?
Sure. I'll allow it.
Didn't really get the Josh Hartnett love when he was younger, but now that he's like a 45-year-old man, he's sexy as fuck. I saw a couple interviews with him, and I went, man, that guy grew into everything. Like he's nice, looking good. Josh Hartnett, looking good.
I didn't particularly care for him at the height of his popularity. I wasn't a big fan of his. I thought 40 Days and 40 Nights or whatever that one movie is called about him giving up sex for Lent. I thought that was really obnoxious and not funny.
Agreed.
And I think that movie primarily just turned me off on him, and I didn't really pay that much attention to him. But, you know, he would go on to do 30 Days of Night, which I like him in that. And now I'm here for the Josh Hartnett renaissance because he was in Oppenheimer, and it was just like, oh, Josh Hartnett out of nowhere. Haven't seen you in like 15 years, buddy. Where you been? And Trap was not a great movie, but I enjoyed it. I thought it was fine. I think people lamb-based M. Night Shyamalan movies more than they deserve, because I thought Trap was perfectly serviceable. It has the M. Night Shyamalan problem of the third act wasn't as good as you wanted it to be.
Right, and people have to understand that Shyamalan really hasn't had his run of good movies ended 20 plus years ago.
Yeah. Like, let the guy go. He's just making movies now. You're never going to get another Signs. You're never going to get another Sixth Sense out of this guy. I guess like people really like Split, and Split was a good movie, and maybe people thought like with Split, like, oh, he's back. But I think he's fit into this little role where he's making above average movies. And, you know, he's not still making After Earth. He's not still making The Last Airbender. You know, he's making stuff like Old, which I thought was perfectly good. He's making A Knock at the Cabin, which was great. And Trap, which is good. I mean, those are his last 3 movies, right? And like, none of those are crap.
I haven't seen any of them, but I've heard mostly good things about all 3 of them, you know, or at least not like that's the worst crap ever.
Yeah.
Because for a while he was getting worst crap ever.
Yeah, for a while he was making The Happening, and you know,
The Happening's a fun watch though. It's just a terrible movie.
It? I've never seen The Happening.
Oh, it's like a Mystery Science Theater 3000 movie without the people making the jokes. It's, you know, you just automatically jump to it. It's hard to believe that it's a real movie. It's so kind of bad and ridiculous, but yeah.
I wonder if Riff Tracks has done it.
Probably. They don't even have to do it. You could do it. You literally just watch it and you're good for it. As Will Brennan, the school counselor / Laurie's boyfriend, we got Adam Arkin, who I like to just call plain looking George Clooney. He's like if George Clooney wasn't super good looking, he'd be Adam Arkin. So you know him from Pig from a few years ago, Hitch,
Oh yeah,
and Sons of Anarchy. He was on that as well, playing Molly Cartwell, the girlfriend of the Josh Hartnett character. Michelle Williams. This is right around the time of Dawson's Creek as well. I got to admit, I've never really had a thing for Michelle Williams. She is cute in this movie.
she's very cute in this movie.
She's very cute in this movie. Dawson's Creek. We just recently talked about her in Brokeback Mountain on the show, and she was in Inexplicably as well, the first Venom film.
She's in the second, isn't she?
I never saw the second one.
Oh, okay. I'm relatively sure she's in the second one.
I did not like the first one. I never saw the second one. I will admit I won't see it in the theaters, but the third one actually looks like it might be kind of okay. Maybe I don't know. I just feel like maybe they hit their stride 3 movies in. I called her Jamie Lynn Sigler before. It's not her. It's Jodie Lynn O'Keefe, who I also kind of think of as like 15 years before Megan Fox. She plays Sarah Wainthorpe. She was on the television shows Nash Bridges, Prison Break, and the movie She's All That. Janet Leigh plays Norma Watson. Janet Leigh is, of course, Jamie Lee Curtis's mother. You know her from Psycho, Night of the Lepus, and John Carpenter's The Fog. She did not make a movie between The Fog in 1980 and this movie in 1998. So 18 years she had not done the movie. Yeah.
That's crazy.
And the 2 movies she comes back for are movies starring her daughter.
Yeah.
And every reference to Psycho in her cameo as this like school marm is unbelievable. She's got the car from the movie. I think I read the license plate is from the first car she has in the movie. She says, like, let me give you some motherly advice, which obviously her name is Norma, not Norman. There's a ton of different Psycho things. There's also, I noticed for the first time ever, I've seen this movie a few times, a couple things that are repeated from the first Halloween movie. When Laurie tells them to go down to she doesn't say the same name, but she says, go to their house. And then she says something like, obey me or do as I say. And it's the same thing she says to the kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do as I say. She says, do as I say. And she says it again to John and Molly when they're getting attacked later on. Finally, you can't mention the cast of this without bringing up LL Cool J. He plays Ronnie Jones. I'm not going to give you any of his acting credits, but here are some of the things. Here are some of the things that this guy's done in his life. 2017, first rapper to receive the Kennedy Center honors. 2-time Grammy winner. I would have thought more. And in 2021, he was a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductee. And I lied because I didn't see this under it. So sorry, LL, you're penultimate now. You can't not mention playing Jimmy in what is a cameo, but he wasn't a star yet at this point. Joseph Gordon-Levitt. This is just a small role for a young Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Yeah, he gets the and credit.
Yeah, and Joseph Gordon-Levitt. He was probably best known at that point from Third Rock from the Sun. Later on, you'd know him from Inception and The Dark Knight Rises. And his first scene, when he pops up in this, he's wearing a hockey mask, and that's a obvious tribute to Steve Miner, because Steve Miner helmed Friday the 13th Part 3, where the hockey mask comes into play. All right, so let's get into this movie. Stu, it's 20 years after, and right off the bat, we meet up with an old friend we haven't seen since the first movie. Who is the first victim, and what's going on in her life?
It's the nurse from Halloween, the one driving Dr. Loomis around. She pulls into her home, and her front, light bulb, her porch light, that's what it is. Her porch light is broken, so she suspects something is amiss, and she takes a peek in her house, and the electricity's off and things are awry. So she goes outside and she finds the neighbor boys playing hockey to check out the house for her.
Jimmy and his buddy, and they say, okay, we'll go inside for you. We're going to call the cops first. So they call the cops and tell the cops there's been a break-in. Come check this out. She tells them, don't go inside. Jimmy goes inside. First thing Jimmy does that really irritated me as a homeowner is he walks in. Now, I appreciate the young man walking in the house to check out whether there's a psychopath in the house. That's nice. But then he fucking slaps his hockey stick on her hardwood floor really hard to try to convey masculinity. Yeah. And he's like, Jimmy's been suspended 5 times for high sticking or something like that. He walks around the house, doesn't find anything. I'm sure I'm probably missing it. Did we get a jump scare? Is there a cat or something in there?
There's an ironing board that falls down when he's in the kitchen. There's an ironing board that falls down and scares him, and he turns and smashes all the pots and pans with his hockey stick.
Right. And then he raids her fridge for beer. leaves. Him and his buddy go
Well,
back
he
to their
does
house.
end up finding something. He doesn't find a person, but he finds out that somebody was in the nurse's office and
That's
like
right.
rummaging through her files.
That's right. Comes out, tells her someone's been in there, went through your office. It's all fucked up, but we're going to go back. We're going to go home. He's got some of her beers. And they went through your fridge too. I like that line. They leave. So she decides to go in. They couldn't have been out there for more than 6 minutes. She's like, I guess the cops aren't coming. It's like, give them a chance, lady. Give them a fucking chance. But she wants to go in. She goes inside. And of course, as she starts walking around her house, we see good old Michael Myers is stalking her from inside the house. Now, I've read different things about the mask in this movie. I want to talk about this real quick. I read that at the beginning of filming, they were using the mask from part 6, but then they got a better mask, so they switched it out and they refilmed scenes. And that's why there's the weird CGI scenes, because that's one scene they couldn't refilm. So they use CGI to make it look more like the second mask. I don't know. What do you think, Stu? We talked about this in the other episodes. There's somewhere, I can't remember which ones, but like there's somewhere it looks worse than others. How did you feel about the look in this one?
It's not a great looking mask. I don't like how tight it is on his face that you can see his cheekbones and his eyes. Like, I think that takes away a lot of the mystique. Like, and it's the case where I remember watching the first Halloween and you can kind of see his eyes in that one too, but it feels like in parts 4 and 5, it was just kind of like a black nebulous void where his eye holes were. And I like that more, that you don't really see his eyes. It removes the humanity.
Right.
You don't get to see the devil's eyes, because they're not really the devil's eyes. He has very nice eyes in this movie. They're perfectly fine eyes.
He's got the devil's eyes, the nicest eyes. Come hither, eyes. So he takes care
He's
of her.
Not selling a lot of books if he's like, he had perfectly adequate eyes.
The devil's eyes, perfectly adequate eyes. So he ends up dispatching her. She tries to get out. He cuts her throat in her front window.
Well, she senses all her electricity's off and she senses something's going on. So she goes across the street to Jimmy's house and finds out that Jimmy and his friend have been killed.
Right. Okay.
And he attacks her in Jimmy's house.
That's right. And Jimmy has gotten one of his ice skates like fucking jammed through his face.
Yeah.
And then we kind of get I think this is more of a Friday the 13th thing, maybe part 3, but she opens the door and the body's hanging in the doorway. I think that's part 3 or 4, right? It's part 4. It's the kid who I think keeps calling Crispin Glover names. I think after he's dead, we see his body hanging, I think, in the doorway. Okay. So she dispatches, or he dispatches her in that house, and then he takes I guess Jimmy's car and leaves. So we go to Northern California and we find out all about this Carrie Tate character.
This was the first movie. I'm going to cut you off there because we're going to talk about Michael Myers driving, and we get back to him driving later on. Yeah. I could talk about it then, but this was the first movie where he's driven before. That's not a new thing. We've noticed him driving. We've always wondered how Michael Myers learned to drive, and that's fine. But this was the first movie because we specifically know that he goes from Illinois to California, where I realized he's driving far enough that every so often this guy has to get out of the car and fuel up.
And take a shit.
I want that scene. I want the scene of Michael Myers just pulling over and fueling up and everyone staring at this guy in the mask. Yeah, and him just
You're right. Because this is also trivia fact. This is also the one of, I can't remember the other one. So it's either the only one or one of 2 Halloween movies that do not take place at all in Haddonfield.
Yeah.
This is another town, which, by the way, I do want to point out this movie, the opening scene, the date is my 23rd birthday, October 29th of 1998, my 23rd birthday. But yeah, this is, there's nothing in Haddonfield here. So yeah, you're right. He goes from Illinois to California. And yeah, he never stops to get gas or to take a piss or.
Yeah, I'm willing to buy that because he's some kind of supernatural entity, he doesn't have to poop. Yeah. It's like there's that book, Everybody Poops Except Michael Myers. Yeah. I'm willing to buy that, but he still has to get gas. That car is not supernatural.
Yeah. Yeah. Or if he does poop, he just loads up that fucking the jumpsuit's just loaded up with dump. That's how you know he's coming. You're like, oh no, Michael Myers, you hear the diaper noise. So we go to the school in California, and we meet Carrie Tate, and it is clearly a short-haired Laurie Strode, and she has nightmares. She wakes up from nightmares. She's got PTSD. At one point, she asked John, her son, to go to the medicine cabinet and get her something for bad dreams, and it is just loaded with medicine. If she's on that many like mental health medicines, she's dangerous. Like the thing was like 5 shelves deep, and everyone was full, and he had to look for bad dreams. Like, you know what I mean? He's like going, okay, this is for when she has psychotic breaks. This is for when her borderline personality disorder fucking kicks in hard drive. Oh, bad dreams right here.
This is the pill that allows her to have me keep this haircut.
Yeah, the fucking haircut. The line by LL Cool J when he says brush your hair, comb your hair was an ad lib because he was making fun of Josh Hartnett. So Josh Hartnett or John and Carrie Tate have this discussion where he just wants to go on this field trip with his friends to Yosemite, and she is just, you know, what do they call that? A smother, right? Like she had this one night of terror 20 years ago, and she lives in fear that her brother, who has never been found, you know, in her world, in this timeline, the last time anybody saw him, he was getting blown up in a hospital.
Yes.
But then I guess no body was ever found. So she's very nervous about this, and he is tired of living under her thumb. So that is the whole kind of, I guess, what we're going to be seeing, the dynamic between these two. But John doesn't really want to go to Yosemite, right, Stu? He wants to pretend to go there so he could stay where she is. Is that what's happening?
He does initially actually want to go to Yosemite. It's just whenever he is reduced to I'm not going, okay, whenever he's reclined to that position, he just kind of accepts that he's not going, and he thinks like, all right, well, I'm going to stay here with my girlfriend instead, because I forget why she's not going. Does the movie explain why she's not going?
See, that's what I'm confused about, though, is that I thought that he was trying to pretend they were going to Yosemite so that he could, like, she would think he was away and he could do whatever he wanted there. Because what makes no sense is when she does finally give him the permission, he throws the permission slip out.
Yeah, because by that point, he'd already decided he was going to stay at the school with his girlfriend. Okay. But like I said, what I don't remember is them ever giving an excuse for why Molly wasn't going on the trip. But they probably did, and I missed it.
Okay. So he wants to do this trip, and he wants to essentially just hang out with his friends. They want to have like a romantic night and, you know, all this stuff. And we see the day-to-day life. It's all in one day. It's Halloween day, but we see, you know, that Carrie, aka Laurie, is just kind of a mess. She's got a relationship with the school counselor, but we don't even realize right off the bat. I didn't realize watching this again, having not seen it in a while, that I had forgotten that nobody knew who she was. I forgot that angle until they said the fake name, because when he says to her, you know, I'm a good listener, I thought he was saying, like, I know what you've been through if you want to talk about it, but he doesn't even know who the fuck she is.
Right,
like,
yeah. I always forget that, too, that there's the scene where she, like, opens up to him and says, like, my brother was a psycho killer, and he thinks it's, like, some kind of hot game.
Yeah, and then he's, like, he realized he's, like, Michael Myers. Like, you know, he knows who she is.
Yeah.
So she opens up about that. And, you know, we just go through some scenes in the school. We meet LL Cool J as Ronnie. He's the gate guard. He's the worst person ever at a job. He spends his entire time on the phone with his girlfriend or wife, reading her really, really terrible erotica that he's writing that he thinks is going to make him rich. But she gets off on it, so that's good. Good for him. Anytime he has to do anything with the gate, he does it poorly. Like at one point, John, who apparently has like tricked him into letting him out before, is like, okay, well, you know, let me and my buddy out. We're going to go and get some booze for tonight. He doesn't tell him that, but that's what they're going to do. And Ronnie's like, no way, man, your mom's going to fire me. And then he does it. I'm like, what? And then when they eventually all get caught, he doesn't get fired. I don't know. Understand?
He doesn't get fired. She just scolds him. She's like, eyes up, Ronnie.
She's so overprotective about her son, yet this guy keeps letting him out. And she's just like, it's cool. I'm like, what? I don't get it. I don't get that.
She doesn't want to fire the black guy.
Yeah,
doesn't want to be accused of racism.
That
So.
actually is probably really true. That's probably really true. Carrie Tate's like Laurie Strode. Carrie Tate is like, man, I've got enough shit going on in my life. I don't need to get canceled in 1998. So Michael shows up. Did you like the scene? I thought it was a pretty harrowing scene in the really weird outhouse in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
The mom and the daughter with the terrible haircut. Why were they driving the Jeepers?
I don't know.
Why were they driving the Jeepers Creepers truck?
They had the cheapest vehicles they could possibly find in this movie, except for Janet Leigh's car. Everyone else drives a very old car. I guess so does Janet Leigh, but it's a well-kept, like it's an old classic car. Everyone else is driving old-ass jalopies in this movie, and I don't understand why. Yeah, I always get this scene confused with the scene from 2018. And I'm like,
yes.
I'm waiting for the scene where he's going to drop some teeth.
Me too.
And that doesn't happen here. He leaves the mother and the little girl completely unscathed, which you could argue is not Michael Myers like, but he's singularly focused on killing his family members in this movie. He doesn't have time to worry about these people on the street. He just needs their car.
Me and you did the 2018 Halloween on the Pint Insider at some point last year.
Yeah.
And so I'd seen this in the last year, and the same as you, I was waiting for the hand to go over and the teeth to drop. And then I'm like, no, that's the other movie.
That's a different movie. It's a worse movie.
It is a worse movie. And then this one actually has, I think it's kind of terrifying, is like her bag's on the ground and you just see him grab it. I'm like, oh shit. Cause that was me. I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Just go. And then she sees him through the crack of the door. And like seeing that through the crack of the door is like, fuck no, no, thank you.
You know what I'm thinking now is how many bathroom scenes, public bathroom scenes, are there in Halloween movies? Because there's this one in this movie. There's the scene with the teeth in 2018. And in the Rob Zombie one, there's Joe Grizzly.
Yeah.
That's at least 3 that come straight to mind. Public restroom scenes in Halloween movies.
Yeah, Michael Myers likes urinals, I guess. Well, you know, he's constantly full of dump, so every once in
his jumpsuit, he's got to clean it out.
He pulls the jumpsuit down, and he's just like pulling out turds.
He holds it under the little air dryer guy.
He steals a used urinal cake and puts it into his underwear,
so it smells better.
Yeah, he's like,
that's just sensible.
Yeah, Michael Myers, you're sensible. So he steals the Jeepers Creepers truck, and he heads to the school as well. He knows where Laurie is based on the
paperwork from. Why would the nurse have that information?
I thought the same thing. I thought unless there was a line, and I don't remember there being a line where she said something like, you know, I inherited all of Dr. Loomis's research or something. But like, yeah, why does this random nurse that, like, as far as we know, the weird thing is she comes back in the new trilogy as well.
Yes.
But that's a divergent timeline. So, but up until this point, she's only been in the first movie.
Yes.
And now in one scene, she was essentially almost like Loomis's fucking driver. Yeah.
Well, here's something else to think about, though, because in this movie's timeline, presumably Dr. Loomis died in the explosion in the hospital because 4, 5, and 6 never happened. So we never saw Loomis again.
Right.
So Loomis sure as hell doesn't know that she moved to California. He died 20 years ago.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
So why does this nurse have this information about Laurie Strode that nobody else has? It makes no sense. It makes no sense.
Unless
you can't rationalize it away. I like this movie, but you can't rationalize this unless Laurie Strode just went up to that one nurse and was like, "Hey, you seem important. I'm going to tell you one thing."
Yeah, come here. Oh, write that down. Make it accessible. Write that down.
I'm going to put that in my files.
Laurie runs into John in town, who's not supposed to be in town because Ronnie let him out. She yells at him. I don't know. Maybe it's just a turn on thing for me, but I like when Jamie Lee Curtis starts yelling at him in this, like, you know, just like, because she says fuck. Like, she throws the F-bomb out there, like, what the fuck? She says to him, she goes, what the fuck, John? And I'm like, oh, shit, my nipples moved. Something happened.
I like how visibly uncomfortable the extras are in that scene. Like, the extras are acting, man. They're not just standing around doing extra stuff. They're visibly like, oh, I'm seeing a fight out in public, and I don't like this. I'm keeping my head down. Yeah,
kind of embarrassing. Poor John. So John ends up going back to school, and him and his friends have a candlelight romantic dinner in a This was a weird. Did you notice how weird this school setup was? It just like everything, like outside.
What,
And
your school didn't have just a big room full of globes?
that's what I'm saying. Like, there's a room full of fucking globes in this movie. There's an operational dumbwaiter.
Yes, I love that. I've never in my life seen a dumbwaiter except in movies, in fiction.
I don't know if I've ever seen. Are those things called cloisters? You know, the giant domes.
Cloister is a Pokemon. That's all I know.
Okay, I could be wrong. You know those giant domes that people take off of room service things?
Oh, okay.
I don't think I've ever been near one of those in real life, so I get what you're saying.
Fair. Okay.
Yeah. No, the school's very weird.
You should do a top 10 list for an episode. Just things that only exist in cinema or movies or fiction.
That's actually
dumb waiters. The big metal lid on room service.
Quicksand.
Quicksand.
Haven't run into that yet. Anvils. Yeah, I've seen an anvil.
But they aren't shaped like that.
No. That weird, like, pointy front.
Yeah.
No.
Like, anvils serve a real purpose in the world, but they aren't shaped like that. They don't fall from the sky.
Yeah, they've never fallen from the sky. I'm gonna write that down. So the kids are having this little party, and of course they get kind of separated from each other. At one point, the Charlie guy goes to get more booze. He drops the corkscrew into a garbage disposal, and we get like this tense scene where he decides to put his hand in there. We think that's what's going to kill him. It doesn't. He finally gets the corkscrew out, but as he turns around, like, about to say huzzah, he's all excited. He walks into CGI face Michael Myers. This is a real thing. Look up this one scene. For some reason, which I think might be what I said earlier from what I was reading, they digitally enhanced with CGI Michael Myers' mask in this one scene, and it's fucking super noticeable when you.
Yeah, it makes him look very gaunt. It's weird.
It is weird because
it's like they just added a bunch of lines to his mask. It's like they called in John Romita Jr. and they were like, "Can you just draw lines on this?"
JR, get in here. He's like,
we need you to add a bunch of lines to shit like you do.
Yeah, can you make it Harry Osborn's hair, Norman Osborn's hair, those cornrow things, those white guy cornrows? They don't actually show him kill this kid.
No, that's
right?
true.
Does he jump in the dumbwaiter? How does he? Do they start showing anything or no?
I think they show him getting slashed, but I might be confusing that with the girl. You're right. Like, I don't think we see anything. We just see the girl is somewhere and she looks in the dumbwaiter and there's his body.
Yeah, he's in the dumbwaiter
with the throat slashed. But yeah, I don't remember seeing his throat get slashed.
Yeah, they don't show it. She sees him in there. She turns around. She sees Michael Myers. He corners her. She jumps in the dumbwaiter with the body, and she takes off. She goes up to the next level. This is a great shot when he puts his head into the dumbwaiter and looks up. I actually like that shot. When she gets out up top, does he stab her before or after she gets out? Because he stabs her in the dumbwaiter, I think, before she goes up in the leg.
Yeah.
So then when she gets to the top, she comes out, and as she's coming out, her leg is still in between the dumbwaiter and the shaft, and Michael Myers cuts the dumbwaiter, fucking cracks her leg. She's crawling out, and that's where he kills her.
He just stabs her a bunch of times.
Yeah, he mashes her. And John and Molly hear this while they're listening to Creed with our arms wide open.
Michael Myers can take them higher.
John's sacrifice is that he's going to go see what's wrong upstairs. He goes upstairs and this isn't one of those movies where they try to be cutesy about it. There's just blood everywhere. And John says, "This is a sick trick." And I'm like, no, it's not a sick trick. That's fucking blood, man.
Yeah.
He follows the blood trail and he finds the two bodies. He freaks out, starts to run. He goes and gets Molly and says, "We got to get the fuck out of here." And what I like about this movie is there's a lot of setup in the first 20 or 25 minutes, and maybe you notice this too, Stu, and this is a short movie. This is the shortest Halloween movie, period. It's 86 minutes long. Do you notice that from the time Michael kills the first two kids and John and Molly run away to the point where Michael and Laurie meet each other for the first time, it feels like it's over within 10. It's not 10 minutes, but it just moves and then gets right to the ending.
Yeah.
Like it just boom, 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 just hits every beat and goes.
You're watching this movie that is all about the John character, all about Josh Hartnett. You don't even realize the moment this movie just stops being about him entirely. The movie throws him in a broom closet, and then it's the Jamie Lee Curtis show the rest of the way. Like, you don't even acknowledge that it's happening, but this movie's all about John, and you think this is going to be about John surviving Michael Myers, and then like a switch just flips. You don't catch it happening, and then it's Jamie Lee Curtis, and John is gone.
Him and Michelle Williams disappear from this movie.
Yes.
So Michael chases them, and they get to like this little gated off area. He's banging on the door, and Laurie comes to like this port window. She lets the kids in. Michael gets through the gate, and we get this like pretty classic scene at this point now where they're looking at each other through the window. Her greatest fears are revealed. He sees her. She has a gun. And at this point, she basically says, like, this is where she tells him, like, go to this, like, whatever, go down the road. They're done. It's over. See you later, Josh Hartnett. We'll see you in the faculty.
Well, there's some cat and mouse in the school first where she puts them in a classroom or a broom closet, and they hide for a bit, and Jamie Lee Curtis and Adam Arkin dies, and they shoot Ronnie, and she clobbers Michael Myers with a fire extinguisher. Then she pulls them out of the room that she had them hiding in. And that's when they get in a car and zoom down to the gate. And she tells them to go. So they're still kind of around. They're just hiding in a room for a little bit.
Yeah. So what you just described was like their eventual disappearance.
Yes.
Like,
yeah.
Cause she takes over. She as you said,
movie now.
As you said, he stabs the Adam Arkin character and
introducing kid out of my goddamn movie.
Let's see at the faculty. Lifts Adam Arkin off the ground like the chick with the scalpel in part 2. Again, they're doing more of that kind of throwback stuff. Ronnie ends up getting shot by
Adam
Arkin, right? Adam Arkin by mistake before he gets killed. Shoot first, ask questions later.
I watched that scene, and that is such a cheating scene because when you're watching it, the person who comes around that corner is Michael Myers. He has hair. And then they show Adam Arkin shooting him. So it's so complete cheating. Like, at watching the movie, you can't even as a viewer be like, oh no, that's going to be Ronnie that he's shooting, because they literally have a shadowy Michael Myers walk around that corner. He gets shot, and then you run up to him, and all of a sudden it's Ronnie laying there. And it's like, bitch, I can tell the difference between bald ass LL Cool J and Michael Myers.
Do you think they were trying to like make you look at it from Adam Arkin's like point of view? Like,
yes,
but
do the real thing. Do the real thing. What's so hard about actually having LL Cool J turn that corner so that the viewers can have the moment of going, oh no, we just shot the wrong guy?
Well, don't fear. Much like in Deep Blue Sea, LL Cool J's character survives. He's just been grazed. Just a bullet graze across the ear. You may have heard of that before at some point. So Adam Arkin gets killed, and then the true showdown really happens between Laurie and Michael. They end up like just kind of going through this school. I know me and you talked about this in a previous Halloween episode, but there's no way I'm not bringing it up again. Michael one-armed lowering himself from the fucking ceiling. What is this guy?
Lowering himself slowly. Dude is strong as hell.
What is up with this guy's core strength? Is he on CrossFit? Did he earlier that morning? Did he take all the crap out of his pants and he's got less of a load in there? Because she's like downstairs looking for him, and like he does this like entrance from the ceiling. But as Stu said, he's holding on to one beam, and he's not like he drops down. He like just lowers himself slowly. Like, wow, dude.
Yeah, dude, that's one of the most impressive feats of strength in a movie, period.
Yeah, there's
it's like that and the scene where Superman lifts an island made out of kryptonite in Superman Returns. Those are the two best feats of strength in a movie.
Yeah. The one thing that he's weak to, and he lifts a whole fucking island made of it.
He lifts a whole island of it and throws it into space.
Yeah. Oh, I'm not gonna lie, right? Superman Returns, talk about that for 1 second.
Yeah.
The scene where after he's been beaten up and he's on the plane with Lois and James Marsden, and he's been all fucked up by the kryptonite and by Luthor and everything. When Brandon Routh's Superman jumps out of the plane and flies into orbit and just like spins around and gets energized by the sun, it makes my dick hard. It really 100% does. And then like he looks down at Earth and his eyes start to glow red and he like rockets towards the Earth and he's using the fucking heat vision to I guess unanchor the island. I love that. I like that movie. I know it's got its issues. I like Brandon Routh.
I have an episode on it coming out soon. Like in the next couple of months, it's an episode I did record on. I hated that movie the first time I watched it. And the second time I watched it was for the podcast. And I was like, this movie's actually pretty awesome.
It's Brandon Routh, man. He should have gotten another shake at that.
Yeah.
I liked him.
Movie made money too.
It did. It did. Brian Singer's problematic, and there's just so much.
Kevin Spacey.
Oh fuck yes. Brian Singer and Kevin Spacey together. Yeah. All right. So let's get back to Halloween. What happens at this point, Stu? She ends up
in the cafeteria?
Like
with all the tables.
Yeah, and she ends up knocking him off of something, right? Very reminiscent to the first movie.
Yeah, she knocks him off a little balcony and he goes like WWE through a table in the cafeteria.
Yeah. He hits the table, goes down, but he doesn't disappear, right?
No, we never see him disappear. He's just laying there. She comes up on him with the butcher knife and she's getting ready to finish the job. And a suddenly alive Ronnie comes up and is like, no, he's dead. He's dead.
Yeah. Why?
Granted, Ronnie? I will say this for that scene. To this moment, Ronnie doesn't know a goddamn thing about this guy. Ronnie doesn't know this is Michael Myers. Ronnie doesn't know she's Laurie Strode. Ronnie doesn't know the path of terror that this guy has torn through the school and killed 2 students and killed Adam Arkin. So he doesn't know Michael Myers from anything at this scene. So I get him like trying to stop her from going berserk, but let the lady go berserk.
Yeah.
You have a killer in your school. Just let her finish the job. I don't think you get time for that. I don't think if you've already killed a guy and you just make sure he's dead with a bunch of knife wounds, I don't think you get time for that. So just do it. Just do it. It's fine. A matter of fact, I think if you do it, you can plead insanity if they try to charge you with anything. So you don't get time. So just do it. Always finish the job. Always double tap.
Stab him 300 times. That's definitely going to get you some insanity points.
I've always been, and this is maybe I'm a weird serial killer kind of person, but I always thought like if I was in this situation and I was, something like this was happening, there was a killer there and I had the killer down somehow, I am cutting their kneecaps out.
Oh, I think it's stuff like that. I think.
Oh yeah, I'm just cutting that thing right out. I'm like, you're not coming after me.
Yeah, I think like in horror movies, like if I had a gun and the killer was down, like. And if I shot, the killer,
shoot their kneecaps.
I'm shooting the fuck out of their legs. I'm shooting their hands. You're good. If you live, good for you. But you're not picking anything up, and you're not walking towards me.
You're not coming after me. That's
you're not coming after me. You could fucking wiggle at me, but that's about all you're gonna get, bitch. That's it, right? Like the ambulance comes and they take Michael away, supposedly. Now
the ambulance comes and Laurie Strode kind of like a switch flips inside of her, and she flips out and she abducts the ambulance. She pulls out her gun and
right, but I mean like from that moment when he's down, that's the end of their like fight there.
Yes, correct.
The ambulance comes to take him away. She realizes that this isn't over, so she takes the ambulance. Now this is something we have to talk about, and we probably talked about in the Resurrection episode. Mustafa Akkad had a rule. That's the producer of all these movies. Mustafa Akkad had a rule that Michael Myers can't be killed. Okay. Now, spoiler alert for this movie, Michael Myers is killed, but he really was not. And Jamie Lee Curtis was told that he was not going to be killed. She was told that I guess the contract that she had signed, they had her for one more movie, which was Resurrection, but she worked out a deal with them. She wanted it to be that she kills him at the end, and then she'll do 10 minutes in the next movie, as long as like they kill her off.
Yeah.
So that was the agreement. So even though many people thought this was the end, she knows, Jamie Lee Curtis actually knew at the time of filming what the contrivance behind who was actually behind the mask was. So we'll fast forward a little bit. She's driving the ambulance. Michael Myers wakes up. They struggle inside the vehicle, and she decides to drive it off a fucking cliff. Drives it off a cliff. She rolls around in the in the vehicle. He goes through the front window. He ends up like landing on a fucking tree trunk, and then the van fucking pins him against this thing, like breaks his back. Right now, we know, watching the movie, that she has the scene where she picks up an axe and she talks to her brother, and I think he's It's another actual hint in the movie that they put in there on purpose. Is he's reaching at his mask and trying to pull it off. Why? He's never tried that before.
Yeah.
Stu, what is the answer? What was the plot contrivance that they work into Resurrection about this whole ending?
Oh, the first medic from the ambulance that comes to check on the fallen body of Michael Myers. Myers reaches up and like crushes his voice box and like knocks him out and puts the mask and the jumpsuit full of poop on him and just leaves him laying there on the broken WWE table so that everyone else who comes in afterwards picks up him instead of the actual Michael Myers, who is now presumably naked and or dressed up like a paramedic.
Yeah. So you don't know any of this in this movie. As far as you as an audience know, she cuts Michael Myers' head off and it's over.
This ambulance guy, this medic that Michael Myers has abducted and used to fill his own role, I don't know who this guy is, but he is as tough as the actual Michael Myers because he survives getting thrown through a windshield face first onto the ground. He survives getting hit with the ambulance. He survives tumbling down the hill, getting pinned against a tree by the rolling, falling ambulance. He is as tough as the actual Michael Myers. She probably did stop an actual serial killer in this universe.
Yeah, you're right, man. I would have been dead the second I went through the windshield.
Oh yeah, 1,000,000%. At least if not dead, not getting back up.
And I gotta say, the getting pinned against the tree by the van, that just looks like fucking pain. Like,
yeah,
the way they filmed it, he just and his body just kind of like fucking flaps, like everything's broken.
And he reaches out to her, and somewhere a young M. Night Shyamalan was watching this movie and going like, "All right, Signs, I got some ideas for you." Somebody pinned against a tree talking to their loved ones. I can do this.
Swing away, Meryl.
Swing away, Laurie.
So she cuts this guy's head off. Michael Myers' head and mask go flying off. It's not really him. And
we get
we don't get any more Josh Hartnett.
No,
fucking gone.
And I know 4 years later, Josh Hartnett was too hot and was too blowing up and was doing too many other movies. But like in retrospect, because we did Resurrection, like Jesus, 5 years ago at this point.
Yeah.
But how much better would Resurrection have been if it was about Josh Hartnett trying to get revenge for his mom dying?
Well,
it couldn't have been worse.
I did give Resurrection a tolerable.
Yeah, I don't know how you did that.
Yeah, it's not good, but I didn't hate it. But yeah, it would have been a better movie with Josh Hartnett. I think what would have made the newest trilogy, or at least the first movie, even better, is if Laurie Strode was the Laurie Strode from this movie as well.
Yeah.
Because then she would have had more reason to have been like kind of as off kilter as she was. She's already a drunk and she's had this happen twice in her life.
Yeah.
So she would.
I have problems with 2018 all the way around. And we talked about it when we did 2018, but she's too crazy for what 2018 is saying happened to her one time. Whereas in this movie, she had an extended version of it happen to her because the whole night still counts. The stuff that happened in part 2 still counts. And she found out it was her brother.
Right. And what happens in this movie? So like 2018 was a continuation of this Laurie Strode.
Yeah.
It would have made more sense. Like, fuck, like he came for me once. He came for me again. He's not gone. They could have figured out a way to, her not to die in Resurrection and say, I cut his head off and now she has guilt because it's not even him. And that's actually what they say is how she ends up in the insane asylum in Resurrection, is that she finds out that it was the other guy that she killed, and that drives her fucking crazy.
That's not a great ending for Laurie Strode.
No.
It's not good. I know we're relitigating Resurrections now all of a sudden, but yeah, it's not a good ending for her character to just send her to an insane asylum. And yeah, the way they kill her is good, where she second guesses herself because she thinks, oh, maybe I'm in that same position again. But oh man, just to undo everything that H20 does, and they put her in this powerful position and they show her she's crazy, but she's getting past what happened to her. And then for Resurrections to be like, no, she's crazy now.
Yeah.
And her son never visits her.
No, he doesn't give a fuck. He's got his hair to worry about. All right, let's talk about the box office.
So I'm talking about fractions of a penny here. And over time, they add up to a lot.
All right, so this movie had a $17 million budget. It ended up making $55 million. That's why we got Resurrection a few years later, and all the talk about direct-to-video sequels kind of went away. The week ending August 7th through the 9th of 1998, on number 5 in the box office. It had been out for 2 weeks at $8.1 million. Lindsay Lohan in The Parent Trap.
Ooh.
4 weeks at number 4. 4 weeks out, $9.6 million. There's Something About Mary.
Oh, you know what? I'm not a big Fairley Brothers fan. Can I say that?
I did like that one. I like Dumb and Dumber. I love Dumb and Dumber.
I think their comedy is too gross out and too, I don't know. There's no subtlety to their humor. It's just everything is in your face and like, oh, I milked a bull and drank the milk. Oh God, I don't know. I just don't like the Fairley Brothers. It's not for me.
I don't mind like non-subtle, in-your-face gross comedy. The comedies that I really don't find funny, and they don't really do them anymore. But remember that whole thing in like the mid 2000s where it was like everything was like
a parody.
Yeah, everything was like
the Spartans.
Yeah, that shit. There's nothing funny about that. There's nothing funny about making fun of current trends in cinema. That stuff works for like sketch comedy. It doesn't work for a movie.
Meet the Spartans killed comedy. Like I'm convinced that Meet the Spartans came out in like 2008, I think is the year it came out. And ever since then, Hollywood doesn't make straight comedy movies anymore because Meet the Spartans killed it. Meet the Spartans killed pure comedy. Now comedy is a subgenre that we add on to horror or action or comic book, but you never just get straight comedies anymore.
Yeah, you're right. A lot of them are like rom-coms or something like that. Yeah. All right. So opening at number 3, $16.1 million was Halloween H20.
Number 3, really?
Well, if it had opened in October, it would have opened at number 1.
Yeah.
They put it out in August. Number 2, it also opened. It made $16.3 million. So just edged it out was Snake Eyes. No, not the G.I. Joe Snake Eyes. It was the Nicolas Cage movie.
Really?
Brian De Palma.
That beat out H2O.
Yes, it did by a couple $1,000s.
I don't even know if I've heard of that movie.
I saw it in the theaters. I don't remember anything about it. It's a boxing match. Nicolas Cage is like a crooked private eye, and literally that's all I've got. And number 1 movie that weekend, it had been on for 3 weeks, $17.4 million. Wayne Arazu from the Countdown podcast put it at number 14 in the top 10 best list of war movies. Saving Private Ryan. Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense to still be number 1 then.
Yeah.
Another dumb, I guess maybe you don't have that much foresight to recognize what a juggernaut that Saving Private Ryan was going to be, but it's another reason, like, why did you release this movie when you did?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I don't know. Like, I would have been afraid of Steven Spielberg in World War II.
Yeah, Steven Spielberg, World War II, Tom Hanks. Come on. You had to have known that was going to be some level of a juggernaut.
All right, Steven Spielberg. Okay, well, he's done pretty well. It's been a while since Jurassic Park. Okay, Schindler's List. World War II. Okay, he did well there. Who's starring in it? America's favorite fucking motherfucker, Tom Hanks.
Yeah, let's release our Halloween movie in the summer 3 weeks after that movie comes out.
Yeah, Harvey Weinstein. Was this a Weinstein thing or Miramax? I don't know, but yeah, bad idea, Weinstein, if that was you. All right,
that is your real name.
If that is your real name, Harvey Weinstein. Let's rate this fucking thing.
Now! What's it gonna be, Doc? Huh? What's it gonna be?
All right, 0 to 5, 0 being the worst thing ever, 5 being the best thing ever. Quarter and half scale optional. Stu, what do you give 1998's Halloween H2O, 20 years later?
I give it a 3.5. I really like it. It's my 3rd favorite of the entire franchise. It goes Halloween Part 4, and then this. And then for me, pretty steep drop off after this one. Like, I'm not sure there's another genuine high quality Halloween movie after this one.
Halloween 2. I love Halloween 2.
I don't think it's high quality though. Like it's in the upper half of my rankings, and I like Part 2, but Part 2 is just a ripoff of Friday the 13th, and that's fine. This is just a ripoff of Scream. Like, I think with the exception of the first Halloween, they're all a ripoff of what's been going on around them when they came out.
Fair.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't know that there's another actually good one because honest to God's truth, my 4th favorite Halloween movie is Halloween 5, and I love it. I love it.
Stop talking.
but it's not that great.
You have to stop talking now.
It is a treasure, though.
I'm gonna rate.
Bruno Mars said so.
I'm gonna rate this movie now, Stu. While I'm rating this movie, I want you to think of one of the few Halloween movies that we have not discussed yet. There aren't many that we could do next All Horror October.
Well, you just said number 2. We never did 2.
All right, 2 is coming up next year. So stay tuned.
Actually, which ones haven't we done? We haven't done 1. We haven't done 2. We haven't done 3, but you've done 3 on the show.
We did do 3.
We haven't done 4.
We haven't done 4, and we have not done Rob
Zombie's first one.
So
but we've done every other one.
Every other one. Yeah, we're slowly working our way through this, and we'll do 2. We'll do 2 next October for All Horror October, and before this year's out, let's do Rob Zombies for the Pint Insiders. We'll do Rob Zombies for the Insider.
Yeah.
So we'll drop that, maybe in December. All right. So I'm gonna go right with you. I think this is about a 3 and a quarter. I'll give this. I don't know ranking wise. I mean, obviously the first is the best. I do enjoy the second, but this is it's a good movie. It's got a good cast. It really like sets you up story wise in terms of like, okay, here's where Laurie's been, here's what's happening. And then like we mentioned, it is no bullshit from the time Michael Myers shows up at the school. There's a little bit of him like sneaking in through the gate and driving the car up to the gate. And then, Molly sees him while she's in class, a la Laurie in part 1. But once he attacks, boom, 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 this movie just runs to the finish. It has the classic Universal horror finish where, she chops his head off. We get the fucking music and the credits roll. Jamie Lee Curtis could have phoned this movie in, and she
claims that she did.
She claims she did. She claims she hated it. And then she also goes back years later, closer to now, and says that she appreciated it. And people,
did she? I've never heard her turn around on this movie.
She turned around on it. I did some of the research on this around the time of the 2018. She kind of said that, originally she said that it was a stressful shoot. John Carpenter was supposed to be involved originally, and they didn't want to give him the money he wanted. He wanted a lot of money because he felt like he was still owed money from Mustafa Akkad over the first movie. So he wanted them to pay him up front to direct this one when he was originally an idea to direct, and she was interested in working with him again, and then it all fell apart.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give this a 3 and a quarter. There's some good kills. It does something I love about movies, and it gets to the point, and it gets us there, and it doesn't hang around too long, and it also, it doesn't try to be gimmicky other than the idea of her and him having a showdown. Obviously Resurrection is hey, this is 2002, the movie, it's a reality show. It doesn't do anything goofy like that. It just has teenage kids getting picked off by the boogeyman. So I'm going to go 3 and a quarter. You go 3.5.
3.5. And you know what blows my mind here? Because I love the guy. I love him. He's one of my favorite podcasters. Alex from The Contrarians notoriously hates this one.
Really?
He's a huge Halloween franchise fan. Obviously, they did a whole Haddonfield Nights franchise, and I think they did this one. But recently on Twitter, I saw him reference Halloween H20, and he said it's in his bottom 3 in the franchise. I'm like, really? In this franchise, with some of these movies, you think this is in the bottom 3?
Yeah, this.
Wow.
I would have to look at
it. He hates it.
I would have to look at the product as a whole.
Yeah.
But if this was not in the upper middle, it would be no worse than the lower middle, but it would not be in the bottom of anything.
Yeah, I'm thinking this is a franchise that has Resurrections, Rob Zombie's Halloween 2.
I don't hate that one.
Yeah, I know, but you should, because they're bad.
Oh, Halloween Ends, I do.
Yeah,
I hate that.
Which did we do first, actually? Resurrections or Rob Zombie 2? I think Rob 2. Zombie 2 was the first one we did.
We did 2
which
years
is weird.
ago. Yeah, we did 2 years
that was
ago.
That was one of your first Trash Tolerable or Treasure episodes.
It was, yeah. Long time ago. Yeah. I don't mind that one. I think that there's a lot of interesting things in that one.
There's a lot of a horse.
There's a horse that people always say unicorn, and it's not. All right, Stu, tell everybody where they can find your show.
The podcast is the Stu World Order, where we review randomly drawn comic book movies with our guest, and the website is swoproductions.com, where we have new articles every single weekday, which I've really been working hard at. I've been reviewing every single movie I watch now. Every movie I watch, I'm writing a full-ass article on. It used to be if it wasn't a screener or something that I had to do an article on, I didn't. And now, like, I watched a Charlie Chaplin movie earlier today, and I'm halfway through writing an article on it. Just for content. My poor website's going to become AP doing his fictional universe and me doing movie reviews soon. That's going to be the whole thing. I'm not doing lists anymore. I'm not doing Pop-Tarts hasn't come out with a goddamn new flavor in about a year. It's getting hard, but I'm doing movie reviews.
Check them out. I check it out. I enjoy Stu's content. And for us, you know us, we're The Pint. Go to Patreon /The Pint and become an insider. $2.50 or $4 a month will get you all kinds of extras. And don't forget, come back all month long for the rest of this October. It's all horror content. I'll give you a couple of things we'll be covering. Our Halloween episode this year is the 50th anniversary of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's a Scary Larry's episode, so that's going to be a lot of fun, and a few other films that I think you guys are going to like a lot. So come back and check us out, and until next time, see ya.
It's over, Johnny. It's over! Nothing is over! Nothing! You just don't turn it off!